Welcome, Titan 6 Actual and 3GX Mental Performance. Welcome you to Breaking Barriers Beyond the Finish Line. I'm your co-host, Lou Greco from Titan 6 Actual, and alongside me is the brilliant Sarah Grippi-Snyder from 3GX. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into the human spirit, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. So whether you're an athlete, an entrepreneur, or simply someone seeking inspiration, this show is for you. We'll explore stories of triumph, setbacks, and unwavering determination that propels us forward. As a retired Army Engineer Reservist, I've faced challenges on the battlefield and beyond, and now I'm on a mission to help you discover your inner Titan.
And I'm Sarah, also known as Coach Grip, a mental performance coach. Together, we dive into the psychology of peak performance, mindset strategies, and how to overcome mental blocks. Whether you're aiming for the podium or simply striving for personal growth, we've got you covered. Join us as we explore the intersection of physical and mental strength, share expert insights, and celebrate those who go beyond the finish line. So grab your headphones, lace up your sneakers, and let's break barriers together. Remember, it's not just about crossing the finish line, it's about what lies beyond. Welcome to Breaking Barriers Beyond the Finish Line. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes where we'll feature incredible guests, share practical tips, and ignite the fire within you.
You know, Sarah and I both want to welcome Yancy Culp on the third episode. Yancy was invited or recommended by Mark Jones, who was on last week. And I'm sure a lot of you guys already know Yancy, you know, co-creator of Spartan DEKA events, death race finisher, health and fitness enthusiast, cancer survivor, U.S. Navy veteran, husband and father, of course, you know, and all around incredible, inspiring human being. So welcome, Yancy. We're you know, so pleased to have you and humbled that you said yes.
Thanks for having me on. Honor to follow Mark. I always make him blush because he never brags on himself. So when I'm around him, I always brag on him, and I'm like, you guys don't know that you are in the presence of possibly the world's greatest rucking ultra athlete on planet Earth. And they're like, well, tell me more. So then I dive in and brag about it because, you know, Mark, he's never going to brag about himself.
Right now, he is a very humble individual, great human being as well. Yancy, real quick, you know, the purpose behind our podcast here, for the folks that are just, you know, watching or listening for the first time, the name is Breaking Barriers Beyond the Finish Line, because what we're hoping to accomplish here is, you know, inspiring and empowering people to be the best version of themselves. But by doing that, by breaking barriers with people that they look up to, or have seen maybe from a distance and admired, and then hear about something challenging that individual faced, so that they can look back, maybe they resonate with it, you know, hear your story, whatever that story may be, and go, wow, I had no idea. And oh my God, look at this incredible human being. Like, look at what they're doing. Look at how they're, you know, being, you know, positive and inspiring other people to do it. And hopefully in doing that, we build a massive community of lifting each other up.
Love it. Love what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much. So with that, you know, the very first question that we'll kick this off with, I guess, and again, no script, but Mark wanted to know, how in the world did you get to be so positive and so inspiring? Like, let's start there. Like, what's the secret sauce behind this?
I was very blessed to be raised by two people, you know, mom and dad, that I mean, we worked our asses off growing up. We grew up on hundreds of acres, farming, you know, ranching, and sun up, sun down, and going to school and playing sports was actually a break. But it was so positive, you know, it was positive around the you know, the dinner table. It was positive. You know, if I had a nickel for every time I heard, you know, families that work together stay together, I could fill a mason jar. And I love that statement. There was always a lot of just good energy, healthy energy. You know, sometimes, you know, positive can be, you know, I think there's somebody told me the other day, I heard toxic positivity, and I don't believe in that. But I think you could get to a point where you don't have the ability to pause and listen to somebody that's having trouble, and like, sometimes they need to hear, man, I can tell what you're dealing with, and that seems tough. That seems challenging. There was just so much awesome communication growing up. There was so much belief in what my sister and I were trying to accomplish. And I felt like I could conquer anything because of the way I was raised. We were constantly told that, not to the point that it was an exaggeration or some, like, wait a second, that seems crazy. It was like,
It was
you guys
genuine.
can do whatever you want to do in life and go tackle it. And they taught us, what builds resiliency is sometimes just saying yes and diving in. And I was a shy kid that stuttered growing up. I say that sometimes, people are like, what are you talking about, Yancy? You love being on the mic or being in front of people or talking in front of tons of people and just bringing the big energy, but that was not always me. Felt like that was in me, but I remember that this would be a good story for your question, Lou. Positivity. Here I was, this shy kid that stuttered, and we grew up in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and I always found myself at a rodeo. We're always at local little small town rodeos. And after the small town Texas rodeos, there's always the dance, and you got the band playing, the old local band. And I wanted to go dance with the girls, but I was so freaking shy. I would never go dance with the girls. My mom, for like 3 straight years, would drag my ass over and say, my son wants to dance with you. And man, my boots are back here, and I'm being drugged across the dance floor. And she's like, my son
How
wants
old
to
are
dance.
you? How old
Oh,
are
I'm
you
like
in this?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She's like, you're going to learn how to dance. And she taught me how to dance. And I love to dance this day. We were listening to the George Strait and two-stepping and waltzing and all the stuff. And then we were busting a groove also with some fun rock and roll. But I just remember her dragging me over there and just like putting me in situations and like with the big smile on her face and building the conversation to where finally I was the guy that had no problem with conversation and whatnot. But long story short, I just grew up around so much positivity. My dad is the male version of Mother Teresa. If I can be half of the man he could be, it would be the greatest day of my life. I would be accomplishing a lot. I don't think I've ever gotten close to being even half of the man he is when it comes to just being. He's a registered nurse for 45 years. If you know, you can't be in that industry without loving and wanting to serve people. But just a great childhood, man, an amazing childhood. There was no negativity in my childhood, unless it was necessary. There's times when it was necessary. But yeah, it's a long-winded answer, brother. But there you go.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, I don't want to do all the talking, so Sarah, please jump in, but take all the time you want to explain these stories.
Yeah. Well, I'm the one that loves to like hear the story and kind of like analyze what kind of happened in your life, because clearly that's my job. That's why people come to me in the first place. But when you were talking about your mom just kind of throwing you into everything, that's getting you to be able to be adaptable. And that's something that a lot of people aren't able to do because they're in their nice, comfortable home, at their same comfortable school, doing the same comfortable things. And even though you were uncomfortable at the time, your mom's like, you know what? I'm just going to have him do this, even though it might be embarrassing at the time. But like you said, all this stuff that was happening, where you said that you used to stutter back in the day, and now you're just very happy-go-lucky, and you see all this stuff that you are able to do now because of how you grew up. And even though I know people hate when I say this, I'm like, it always starts at the root cause of whenever you're in your childhood, and like, stop talking about my mom and dad and how I grew up. But that's how it is, like, we don't have to start there every time, but in the deeper, grand scheme of things, that's usually what happens. So yeah, like you talked about, there was a lot of positivity, and of course there's reinforcement, in case there's like you said, the natural negativity to reinforce certain specific behaviors. But that's literally why you are so, spunky and so friendly. I guess those are the best words that I can say right now.
I haven't heard spunky in a long time. We can go with that.
Man, that was the first word that came to me. I don't know why.
I love it.
So
with everything, yeah. What were you gonna say, Lou?
just that Yancy, you touched on stuttering, and that's certainly a massive thing to overcome. But you had mentioned a story last weekend at the DEKA event about one of the things that helped you overcome stuttering, if I remember correctly, and that was acting.
Yes. I found myself throughout high school, and then I had a track scholarship to University of North Texas, ran track and cross country for a little bit, 4 years in the Navy. And I found myself getting out of my shell a little bit, but there was this pent up, like if there's such a thing as an awesome monster, that was me. There was this pent up thing in me that just wanted to go and
What we
dive
see
into
now.
everything and attack everything, but I was holding back.
Yeah.
And I remember while I was still in the Navy, I started going to acting school, and it was the most nerve-wracking thing you could ever imagine. You get into class and there's like 15 people and you're just thrown scripts and you're doing improv and you're on the spot and you're trying to dive in, pretending you're at auditions, and you're trying to, steal the show when you're not the principal. And it's like, slate, let's go. And I kept that going for probably 4 years, a couple years up in the Bay Area and a couple years down in the Los Angeles area. When I was, after I finished up the military, I was a civilian contractor I was a general manager for Camp Pendleton, Miramar, North Island, El Centro, and I was bouncing all around as a general manager. And I was moonlighting, going to acting school. Once or twice a week, I go to acting school. Richard Brander, you look up Richard Brander, true story. He's been Kevin Costner's acting coach for like 45 years. Well, this will be a fun story. It's maybe a little too old for Sarah, but you'll get it, Lou. So if you remember 90210,
Yeah.
Richard Brander was actually Jenny Garth and Luke Perry's acting coach as well. So there would be sometimes we'd go into class sometimes, and Richard was like, "Got a little surprise for you." And you're sitting there crisscross applesauce, and freaking Kevin Costner walks on the stage and he sits there and talks to you for an hour. It's a dream come true. I spent way more money than I ever made going to the cattle calls and this and that, and just like you get a fax and you're driving with one knee from San Diego, Los Angeles, trying to memorize some script, and you get there and you bomb. 9 out of 10 times you bomb, but you just showed up and you showed up and you showed up. And I remember there was a couple cattle calls where all of a sudden I just felt free. And I guarantee if you talk to anybody that goes on stages and the Tony Robbinses or the Simon Sinek's or the actors, the musicians, even the politicians, all the people that are front and center, there was those periods where you kept going and you kept going. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, I got this. I'm just failing forward, never going to be perfect. But to your point, it was such, that time served me so well. Never went on to be a successful actor, but I'm comfortable diving into situations. And hell, man, if I need to, I can sell ice to penguins. I can sell stuff. I can just dive in and love on people, and just you throw me in. I'm probably at my best when you throw me in a room with 1,000 people or a party with 100 people. I'm going to try to meet every single person there and get to know them and just try to be the life of the party. I love people, man. You want to see me die real quick, just put me in a cabin by myself in the middle of nowhere, I'd go stir crazy. I got to have people around me.
I hear you.
So
No,
you don't want to be on the TV show alone, where you're literally in the middle of nowhere by yourself?
Naked and Afraid. It's not, well, I guess I would have one person if I was on Naked and Afraid. That wouldn't be enough people, though.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I mean, I gotta say, I mean, it's been a year now since I've been, working with you guys with DEKA, and from day one you were so welcoming, and like the very next month is where I actually met Sarah, and we started to talk about, before this podcast ever kind of was dreamt up, we were on this common mission, and we were like, we know we got something here. What is it? Let's try and work through this over the months and define it. And I thank Mark for that, and I thank Mark for introducing me to you, but you being so welcoming and open, and creating those opportunities. I mean, yeah, anybody that comes in contact with you, if they're a good human being, they're gonna get that in return from you. It's just amazing.
Well, I always say, man, we're all imperfect people failing forward. I'm just that guy that sometimes I'm going 9 miles an hour and I fail to slow down, and sometimes I just crash right into the wall, like going 90 miles an hour. And I will fall over it, but I'm just a little bit of a train wreck and I bust my ass. And I always get back up though. There I could definitely come up with some strategies to have a little smoother time at this journey we call life. But it's still fun though, man. It's always fun.
Yeah.
Well,
No. Go ahead, Sarah.
life's all about the roller coaster. Like you said, there's going to be those ups, we're going to be downs. Sometimes we're going to accidentally go too fast, but that's part of the journey. And within this whole journey, one of my questions was like, how did DEKA kind of get started? Because I kind of came into the sport, I don't want to say like crazy later, but I wasn't there when Spartan was originally created and all that. So how did that originally start for you?
It's a fun story, and I love talking about this because I think it's very important to so many of us that are in the business of health and wellness. I I come from the fitness coaching world. I've been coaching fitness for probably 25 plus years. I've owned my own fitness businesses. I firmly believe what I'm about to say. When you're in our world, even the three of us, when you're in the business, I feel we're in the business of dealing the world's most powerful drug: fitness, movement, exercise, mental and physical health and wellness. When you've seen it change and even save lives, it's an amazing addiction for us that are in the business of dealing that drug. So I'll take you back to November, December 2019. I'm sitting in Pittsfield, Vermont with Joe DeSena in his kitchen. If you've ever been to Pittsfield, it's a magical place. I met Joe about 30 hours into a 72-hour death race in 2013, and we've been collaborating and moving and shaking and building and creating ever since. And he's an amazing dude. A lot of people, you love or hate Joe. They broke the mold after he was born. They kicked it off the side of the mountain. There'll never be another Joe. It's impossible. And we're talking, and we were talking about how, we've pulled 15 million people off the couch with the mud and the barbed wire. And that, I know from my world of coaching fitness, there's a large percentage of people we're never going to get to the mud and the barbed wire and the obstacles on the side of a mountain. And we started talking about what if we had the ability to bring Spartan races to small scale Spartan races to inside brick and mortars, inside gyms, where it would be this beautiful test of a low barrier. If the three of us have a gym in, I don't know, downtown Houston, and we pull 100 people off the street, and I don't care if they're 100 pounds overweight and unfit, never been on a good fitness journey, if they step up to a DEKA start line, whichever one it is, individual or teams, there's about a 99.5% chance they're going to find the finish line as they are. It's going to be low risk of injury. It's going to meet them where they're at right now. And we talked about putting on the big events. That was actually going to be our first, would be a big event. Wild Crazy Man Joe, like he says, this is amazing. If you know Joe, he said, yes, guys, freaking make it happen. And he's like, who's going to help you manage this? Because if you know me, the ADD guy, you don't want me like crunching the budget. Yeah, I'm the freaking wild, crazy ideas guy. We need somebody behind the scenes that's every now and then telling me no.
Balance. Yep.
Or we need to slow down here. Or it's just the way it is. You don't want me being the bean counter. I'm the guy. And I said, I got a guy that's managed. Good friend of mine, Jared Cogswell, managed huge clubs, and he's the kind of guy that can come in. He's managing Lifetime Beaverton, Oregon right now. He's the guy. And I called Jared. I said, I need you in Boston tomorrow. He's a few cocktails in down in Florida to some Boca Raton party, and he's like, I'll be there, brother. He gets on a plane, and 12 hours later, we're in Joe's office with his dry erase board, and we're literally planning DEKA the next day. True story. I'm not exaggerating any of that. A few weeks after that, we're in an old abandoned Kmart in downtown Denver, and we're murdering the plan. 3.5 months, December, January, February, early March, until COVID ripped the rug out from under us. which caused, when we flew in like CrossFit Games athletes, professional athletes, we had 100 people, 100 pounds overweight and everybody in between. And we said, we're not leaving here until everybody's crossing the same finish line in the same arena on the same day, using the exact same standards. All levels come together and celebrate fitness together. That was the mantra. But the maniacal focus had to be around the 70, 80 percenters that have never had a gym membership. They're not on a good fitness journey. They're not testing their fitness right now. That had to be the main focus. And it still is, and it always will be. But we said, if we do this right, the cyborgs will love it. We call them the cyborgs. The cyborgs will love it as well. And, fast forward to today, 365 gyms have held over 2,000 revenue generating events inside their brick and mortar facility, anywhere from 10 to 40 events every weekend, adding 10 to 20 new gym affiliates, club affiliates every month. Just got our second college and university today, Radford University, along with UConn. But ultimately, it was to create a wonderful opportunity to celebrate fitness for all levels, create a globally recognized sport designed for all levels, and where possibly 5-10 years from now, it becomes the most popular sport on planet Earth when we look at the category of all the people that have never had their sport. And two things that we're radically proud of. Participatory sport in the United States, 65% of tickets sold are males, 35% are females, and we've been 52% females since we launched, and we are so freaking proud of that. Most of our events take place inside gyms. We've paid out approximately $2 million to our affiliates. And it's, we love the big events, but we always say, we have 365 CEOs on our team, and they own this brand. They own that brand, this brand in their communities. They're the reason Spartan comes to town whenever they want Spartan to come to town, and they celebrate fitness with their community. And we love that. About 35% of the people that buy a ticket have never walked into that gym before in their life. And I was on a podcast earlier, and I was thinking back, and I was like, oh my gosh, could we do this again if we were starting from scratch? You don't realize sometimes when you're just tackling one day at a time, and then you fast forward 4.5 years, and you're like, whoa, there's been 500,000 text messages, private messages, emails, phone calls, Google Hangouts, in-person meetings, travel trips. It's like, how in the world did we do it? Number one, Joe believed us. We lost $75 million during COVID. We had no way to generate revenue, and somehow he kept the freaking lights on. And we were in a position, team, to where I can crunch the math well enough, and we were able to create a budget showing we're not going to be breaking even and making money until we get 275 gyms. We didn't have any. Okay. Then we had 5, then we had 10, then we had 50, then 100, and we're getting ready to have 400. But it was hard. It was very, very hard. The hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It's the hardest I've ever worked. It makes things like boot camp and the death races and working your butt off on a ranch and all the things that we do, we get ourselves into. That's the hardest, most challenging thing we've ever done. We have an amazing team, Brian and Nelson and Robin and Cynthia and Arlene and Preston and our roadshow crew. And, even though JC's gone, my brother JC, wouldn't have made it without him. We kept each other sane. It's so rewarding though, when you get a message sometime, somebody's like, I crossed my first finish line yesterday at a gym that I got invited into. And, thank you so much for you guys creating what you've created. And you'll never go to a gym event and not cry. I've been to bunches of, you always cry because there's that person that's gets that first medal hung around their neck, or maybe it's been a long, long time. So, oh man, I love that question. I could talk about that question for 3 hours. We could have a Joe Rogan podcast and go for 3-4 hours just on that one question, Sarah.
I could tell you had a lot of information. I mean, it was a long time coming too. Like, you've been planning for years, and you said you first met Joe in what, 2017,
2013.
Oh, 13. Oh, my bad. So even longer than what I expected. And you're halfway through a race, which I think that's amazing. Like, I think that's half of the journey right there. He's like, I don't know, there's something different about this guy. I don't know how exactly the interaction happened. Do you mind like telling, like, how did you guys first, like, while you're in the race, how did you guys start talking about something like this?
Oh, we're 20 to 30 hours in. I can't remember the exact amount of hours, but I'm out there. I'm already turned inside out. And we're coming down. He's got a mountain in his backyard that's a mile up. If you've never been there, it's a mile up bobbing and weaving, like probably 60% incline. He's got this little cabin we call Shrek's cabin at the top, and then at the bottom of the flat section in the valley, it's his farm. And we're weaving down through the trails, and on some crazy, we were building a rock staircase. We had been doing that all freaking night. I mean, I'm talking rocks that were like, it's like Egyptian. We're trying to build the pyramid here, steps up this rock, up this slope. There's 300 of us at the time. Only a 21 finished, but we started with like 310 people. So it's this massive army. And then the next morning, we're 20, 30 hours in, and I find myself out there with Joe, and he's coming down, and I'm going to stay with him for a while. And we just started shooting the breeze, like we say in tech. We actually say shooting the shit, but it's shooting the breeze. And we're talking shop, and then he proceeded to continue kicking our ass and my ass for the next, I don't know, 40, 50 hours. But I hung on and got this bib, and there's a skull back there somewhere. We always laugh, if the house is burning down, the wife and the kids, and then the skull. That's next. That's the second thing that comes out, But the only thing before they got is the wife and the kids. But yeah, that's how we met, and we've always kept things going. A lot of people thought I was actually working for Spartan way a long time ago, but it was always like there was some contract work and collaboration and bringing companies together, and like and then once DEKA got going, it was, even though I had the wonderful opportunity to work with 5 or 6 companies in the health and wellness space, all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, man, Spartan DEKA is taking a lot of my time. I think we could technically we started calling it full time work. So that's the story. And there's a funny 52, 53 hours in, I'm still in. Oh my God. And we had a 3-mile swim in the Chittenden Reservoir, 3-mile swim. And I remember you'd go half mile out and back, and you'd come out and you'd warm up, and you'd see Joe knocking out. He'd be knocking out pull-ups in this little A-frame building. And there was all these bibs. So to start with 310, and you just see these bibs. It's like a death row of bibs. It's like it's like I'm tapping out. So you take your bib off and you hang in. There's like that 3-mile swim brought us down to probably under 100 people with maybe 20, 30 hours to go. But phenomenal journey for anybody. Whether you finish or not, it's an amazing journey to get to immerse yourself on the side of Pittsfield. So, and in that surrounding. So that's kind of the story. It's another one that I could if you go into the general store, go in, hang a left, you'll see this big rock. It's got Yancy's signature on it. Well, there was this one section. And again, when you're doing the death race and, or anything crazy long ultras, you find yourself doing things like, whoa, that seems impossible. It can't be done. And you just get it started. Well, we had this like 25-mile blood route hike in the middle of, it's no man's land. If you know, you know. And we're like, you had to get a rock that you were going to take with you. Okay. So I got my rock. And that rock, I mean, you find ways to become an engineer with your clothing and your straps and all kinds of way to get this rock apart, because you're no way you're going to hold it like this the whole time. And you come back with a little small rock, of course, hoping that one would get approved. And Joe's like, get that damn rock out here and go get a bigger one. And you would finally get approved, and you could take off on your journey. So anyway, always fun talking about the death race.
So it sounds like you've, at least not always, but eventually you got to the point where you're like, I want to choose doing some hard shit. And that obviously built some resilience. There had to have been a point at some time in your life where something hard happened to you. Wasn't by choice, and you just had to deal with it. Something that, again, going back to the premise of the podcast and the intent of what we're trying to do, is there anything that you can recall that you're like, yeah, that tested my fire, and thank God for all these other things that built my resilience, but that was a test down to your core?
I mean, I think the foundation was built. I always like to say the analogy. I had the wonderful opportunity to work with Michael Karen. He's the owner, founder, CEO of Get Burly, and I'm a master's coach for him. We travel the country teaching large groups of teams and organizations, sometimes like executives and moms and dads that are managing things and working for companies and high school, middle school kids. And I give the analogy that life if the three of us build a house, we're going to pour a foundation and it's going to take 3 or 4 days to cure. And we put rebar in there and it makes it stronger. Life is like a 60, 75 year cure of the foundation. And we go through life and we learn and we grow and we stumble and fall. And it's like, we get better. That's like a piece of rebar. Like if I challenge myself today, it's like a piece of rebar that's going into that, not a 3 or 4 day cure, but a 75-day cure. And we're just shoving rebar in there. And when we get to those, the golden years, some of us have stronger foundations than others. I think that's a non-debatable. And the corners, and it's finally cured, and now you're standing on top of it, and you're thriving in love and life, and you have a lot of amazing people, and you'll have a lot of amazing memories, and you have kids and grandkids, and you're on a strong foundation that'll support a lot of people. And like I said, the corners are chipped and stuff, but it's got rebar everywhere. And I think that's the kind of, like, what are we doing today? I mean, coming on the podcast, saying yes to this, it's challenging. You guys starting a podcast, it's challenging. That's a piece of rebar as the foundation's curing. So I love that analogy. We're working with kids, especially. You like to create little small things that will help them remember.
Yeah, you can visualize it. I've never heard it put that way. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Most of the stuff I say is some awesome person served me, and I was able to listen long enough to learn from them. That was, for some reason, that's probably one of the few that I come up with myself. But I guarantee it's because somebody taught me something, and I just kind of came up with a fun way to spin it. So the challenges as a kid were, I mean, I look back on my childhood, and if you're a young man or woman that grew up on a true farm, you freaking, dude, you know how to grind. You know how to grind. It gives me chills. I know how to work from sun up to sundown and never stop except to get, a lunch and dinner, and have fun doing it, and just work and think that that's the norm. That's how because you're separated from everything, and it's just, that's how
that's your
cows and horses and stuff, and a fence to be built, and it's like, whoa. So literally, I'm the small percentage that, a military boot camp was like summer camp, dude. It was like, I got a break. You know what I
compared to
mean?
the farm life, yeah.
Running track in college was like those first couple weeks of practice, like this summer camp, dude. This is like an hour and a half workout. Are you kidding me? So when things get rough, but there's, I mean, probably the most challenging thing that I've ever done. I know we mentioned it. You guys brought it up in the intro before we started recording, was my cancer journey. Total gift. If you've ever survived something like that, or near death experience, or cancer, it really grounds you when you think you think you had your shit together, but and you were really, you're really dialed in. You realize, no, I got many levels that I can graduate up. And it was, I pinch the life out of each day. I get a little more than I used to. So that was about a 9-month journey that was, when you make it, you can look back and say, man, that was very rewarding and impactful, and a gift, a true gift. But to be honest, I really, compared to 99% of the people on planet Earth, I've had it pretty easy. There hasn't been a lot of struggle. It's like, basic things. And I challenge myself to create a little bit of struggle, because I know the stats are out there, the 1 or 2% that, I mean, I had it good, man. Middle-class family, worked their butt off. We always had food on the table, nice house and clothes and the schools and all the stuff. So I had it pretty damn easy in the grand scheme of things. To be perfectly honest, I'm not going to try to create something that wasn't there, because there's a lot of people that are freaking lucky to just, they woke up today and they're trying to get through the day without being freaking harmed with the wars and the hunger and all the stuff everywhere that the larger majority of people are dealing with.
Yeah,
I got it easy, brother.
That's fair. That's fair. Not that farm life is ever easy, but
yeah.
Certainly a very humble answer. Sarah, I don't know if you were going to say something. I keep cutting you off.
Oh, you're not cutting me off at all. It's just, I'm thinking as you're talking about this stuff, and I think a lot of people's mentality is like, why is this happening to me? where some people that have gone through a lot or see the bigger picture, it's like, why not me? Like I was chosen in a way to go through something like this because I know I'm powerful enough to be able to conquer it all and get through it. It might be tough in the grand scheme of things in the moment, but like you said, like now it's like a gift. But when you first originally like heard about it, it's like you go through like a small grieving period and like, why me? And then you realize like, you know what, like I can conquer something like this. It's going to be tough, but you see who you are now because of it. So I like the way that you called it a gift, because a lot of people, they'll talk about what's going on with them right now, and it's always this poor me and like that victim mentality, where for you it's just like, no, like so many more people have it so much harder than me. And I think my very first DEKA event was in uh Pennsylvania last year, not this year, last year. And that's when I don't think I got to meet you, Lou, but I got to go around your tent and see everything that you had. And then we had a conversation the next DEKA later. But wasn't there, I can't remember exactly what her disability was, but do
Oh,
you know who,
yes.
yeah, you know exactly who
Yes.
I'm talking about.
That
That
was
is
so
so,
incredible,
yeah.
inspiring to watch. And I just saw her again, just I forget how many
She,
races ago.
I feel so terrible that I'm brain farting on her name, but she is such a beautiful spirit. She's done the full DEKA fit twice with her husband as a team. And the
Yes,
beautiful part about
yes.
that is when you do it, we love, people with disabilities or they come back from war and they're missing limbs, whatever the situation. We love seeing people team together because her and her husband do it as a team, and they actually get through it all. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. But I may think of her name. But yeah, Sarah, she's a magical lady.
Yeah. And I was there, but I guess I missed her run. I think I was in between my individual run and my team run. So I might have went to go get food or something like that. But I saw the post about it later. I was like, when did this happen? They're like, in Pennsylvania. I'm like, I was there. Why did I miss this? So no, that's so inspiring. And I like, that was my first event. And I remember, I think, Yancy, you gave me, I don't know how many high fives. I'm like, he doesn't even know who I am. And you're just over there like saying hi to everybody like you typically what you said you typically do. But that's cool to see that, because most of the time you go to a place and you never get to meet the owner, and it's just like, when is this person going to pop up? And most people don't think about it, but when you show up to these events all the time and you're always trying to say hello to everybody, it really shows that everybody else is kind of slacking, like you're actually there trying to make a presence to the people that have been coming for years, or new faces. Like, it's very awesome. And I know that's one of the things I was like, who is this person? I was like, oh,
Yeah.
he's the owner. I was like, whoa, that's awesome. Like, I never experienced that, I guess.
We have an amazing team that allows me where I get to be that person that tries to, because there's so much going on behind the scenes. And even Joe, kind of the head of all things Spartan, keeps things going. But I get to be this guy that literally tries to fist bump, love, high five, and every single person 10 times. It's like, how can we create an experience where people feel this energy, where they just turn themselves inside out and tested their fitness and earned their mark? And it felt like the world's greatest drug. It kind of drove home that point of, this is the world. I felt it when I was out there, when I get my heart rate up and the lactic acid thumping in the muscles, and the community felt so loving. And we're a team. I was talking about it earlier in the day. If you don't have, if you're one of our sponsors, if you're somebody that works for us, um, or maybe just comes in and joins us for the day. And again, I don't want to overdo positivity, but if you don't fit our culture, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb, because we're in the business of loving and serving people with fitness. And for them to be like, want to put their coaching hat on and invite people to share, next time, or we always say you don't have to have a certification to coach somebody into coming and trying testing their fitness. So yeah, I'm the dealer. I'm the one dealing that energy, and it's very rewarding, and it's addicting, and you can't, we all have bad days, but you have to bring your A game. It's like if your CPA has to bring his A game to make sure the numbers get crunched properly. I just have a different job than the CPA. We all, we all want to do our best. And I want people, if we can create the type of experiences where a person could leave there and be a better person. That's like we're all, in sport, and Lou and I know from the military, there's a few places that you go, a locker room, or when you get into festival area at some place like a DEKA. There's certain times in life when all differences get thrown aside and we become like this melting pot of awesome. And sport and fitness and competition and testing your fitness with a bunch of other like-minded people, it does that. It's like the whole, you don't have an enemy, and no matter who you have in the foxhole, they're your best friend. I've seen that out at sea when it's just a boat and a bunch of freaking people, and that's going to be your people for the next 4 months.
Right.
You find a way to just love and serve each other, man. And it's just that festival area. That's what we want that to be. It's so important to pull people away from all the chaos that we have and just have this beautiful day of celebrating the power of fitness. So we will always try to find a way to level up that portion of what we're doing and make our product as special as possible for everybody.
I can't tell you how electric it was when we were in, your home city, that DEKA event. It was an energy like, and all of them are high energy. So I don't want to discredit any of the other venues, but there was something special that day. You could just sense that the people that were there, they're like, oh, that's Yancy's friend. They're all Yancy's friend. You know what I mean? It's just the buzz and the energy. And you're right. It's like, if you aren't fitting that in that lifestyle and in that mentality, you're gonna stand out. And there, it didn't seem like anybody stood out.
Well,
it looked like everyone was like
teams and culture. I always say you the first thing you got to do, you got to get to 51%, so the teeter-totter swivels to your side. If you have 51% or more, you have a chance to win and chance to really accomplish greatness. And then that gets to 60, 70%. And then you get a culture where it's like a massive percentage. And then every now and then I love talking about non-debatables. Everybody on planet Earth carries a fire extinguisher or a flamethrower. And we all have both, but like, what's the tool you use the most? And some people, are always trying to put out fires, and build energy. And some people like just go into a situation that's on fire, and they just throw more, they break out the flamethrower. And so you could come in with this negative vibe and you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to get overwhelmed, and you're not going to fit well with our culture. It doesn't mean that you can't call things out when they need to be called out, and you got to be hard on things sometimes and jump. I mean, sometimes that's where I'm bad. I have to get better at that. But you just have to win that culture war and create amazing, healthy culture. And, it doesn't matter if you're freaking trying to manage the Pentagon or you're trying to manage the front lines. I can't speak for you, Lou, but like you're in the shitstorm. And in that moment, who's going to be a calming presence? What are we going to call that? Toxic positivity, because you're in a shitstorm and bullets are flying. I've never been there. But, the shitstorm for me would be like operations off the coast of Korea, and you're launching helicopters all freaking day long, doing mine countermeasures for 16 hours a day, and it's a shitstorm. It's crazy. But who was that? Everybody was always fighting to be the person that was bringing calm. And that's what made it so amazing. If there was one person, hell, it's on a helicopter carrier off the coast of, Japan or something, you're out there and it's a bunch of 18 to 23-year-olds managing it for the most part.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's working. It works because so much, not like we're a bunch of Albert Einsteins, but we're able to maintain calm and be resilient and laugh and joke with everybody's family. And that's what makes a good team. And we have a great team. And you know what? 2 or 3,000 spectators and the 1,200 competitors in Austin. That's about what we had. Just kind of mesh in with that vibe. And then you got Jeff Barton on the mic, who's the greatest dude ever. And it's just positive everywhere. So yeah, Austin was special, man. I'm so glad you were there.
But Jeff does bring a lot of energy, a lot of great energy, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I know
my cat's trying to bomb the video here.
Yeah, I hear all the pets in your background. I hear a dog barking. I hear your cat.
I haven't heard any of it.
No, I keep trying to mute it at those times when they're like going nuts, and it's like, there's always going to be something, and you just got to roll with it. It's fine.
Hold on. Just let me show you something real quick. I have to let you see this. Do you see? This is why I have a virtual background. This is all
You're
my
in the
hunting
RV.
stuff. This is my RV. Yes, but this
it.
is what my back behind me
That's your
always
office.
not always looks like. But I'm going for a hunt, and we don't even have all the snacks all the way over there. You can see.
I'm so jealous.
But yeah,
so jealous.
We love chaos. So if like.
You thrive in chaos, right?
I'll hide that. We thrive in chaos. Yes, exactly. So no worries on that. But while you guys were talking about your time serving, something that I was thinking about when I have actually watched some of the DEKA events, my last one was Colorado Springs. It was the road show back in May. I watched a couple age groupers go at the same time, and it was one person's first time ever. And I remember a couple of them were maybe they've gone to 2 to 3, so they have a little bit of an understanding. To make that person feel comfortable as they're running around, let's just say, I think the skis were next to the sit-ups. As somebody was skiing and while somebody was doing sit-ups, they were encouraging the person through the zone. You got to keep going as they're huffing and puffing doing sit-ups. And the person is literally almost dying on the ski erg. And I thought that was really cool to see because one, they're competing against each other. So that's one thing. And two, they're both trying to get a certain time and do well, and there's nerves arising, but they're encouraging each other. It's like, you know what, like, we know that it's your first time here, but you belong here, and it's going to be tough, but you'll get through it. And guess what? I think the person that was it was their first DEKA ever, I'm pretty sure they got a better time than everybody else. Like, I think they outbeat the others. And that was really cool to see too, because I think the extra encouragement helped him push past it and maybe was able to do more things than what they expected. Because sometimes we accidentally limit ourselves, like, oh, that looks too tough. And whenever we see, once we go through it, we end up doing a lot better than what we expect. So that was just my story, because literally I have never been in the service. I'm like, what did I see in DEKA that might have been similar to like what you were just explaining?
Yeah, it's when we were in that old abandoned Kmart planning and scheming, it was like, I mean, when we would test it, we would see, Jared and I tested it a lot, and you would test it and everybody was finishing and they felt so empowered. But then I would go like attack it and go like 36 pace, and I would just feel like this is the hardest thing I've ever done. It was so painful. Like, I was like, we're really on to something here, because this is turning like serious, not me, the serious athlete, but the serious athletes, we would come in like Ryan Kent, and we would lean on other people in Colorado and just hammering you into the dirt. But everybody was finishing, taking twice as long, but they were smiling and walk jogging and slowly getting through the zones, and they were doing everything. But so it was this balance of, we're really, really onto something here that could be, the Army National Guard has leaned in on us three times for their endurance team qualifier, the Air Guard as well, the military, police, fire. We've had special forces come in, professional athletes from almost all sports, and people on 300-400 pound weight loss journeys have I've got a lady named Katie that we had on the podcast, Jared and I on the Spartan DEKA podcast, and she was starting like a 300 pound weight loss journey and she conquered DEKA strong. And then when she was like 170 pounds in, I may be a little off my math. Sorry, Katie, if you listen to this, but you know, and then she was like 20 minutes faster. And that's, you know, to be able to have this, to be able to consider yourself an athlete because you do participate in a sport, and DEKA is a sport. It's more powerful than just losing the weight. It becomes bigger than it's good when we can lose focus. My wife's a dietitian, and she's the director of sports performance diet nutrition for University of Texas Longhorn Athletic Department. And one of the key things with the psychology of that is when you can let yourself lose focus on losing pounds and inches, or even if you're an athlete trying to gain pounds and inches. I mean, you know, because you're trying to get bigger. It just lose focus on that and focus in on the health aspect. And in this case, the athletic side of it. I'm crossing a finish line. I'm training in between. I'm getting better at my sport, and my time improves. So because I was selfish with my time over the last 3 months and I gave myself 45 minutes a day. It's like Yancy time, Sarah, Lou time. That's what it's all about, right? I got a 27-minute workout in before I jumped on this podcast because I had 27 minutes to spare, and I got it in real quick. Well, that was me being selfish with my time. Guess what? Every single person in my life benefits from that. I get to then turn it off about being about me and serve. If it means the kids want to go on a freaking active vacation, guess what? This 52-year-old's damn sure going to say yes. You better try to keep up with me, kids. And one day when I have grandkids, their kids, I want to still be able to say yes, but it's about stacking good days on top of each other, and you are able to live a life of service, taking care of your, you know, your beautiful machine. Have no freaking clue where that rabbit hole came from. So apologize. What was the question?
I'm not even sure there was a question, to be honest.
I don't know, but a fantastic point. I mean, you know, what had inspired me with, you know, fitness is like I've gone to dark places, and you know, my health has declined, and then I've, you know, kind of like regrouped and said, no, I've got to find a way back to health and fitness, and that's led to the mental clarity. And so prioritizing yourself like that, and then in effect that domino of, oh wait, now I can go back to helping other people. It's just like it's a powerful drug, and it saves lives, like you said. It's so overwhelming if people realize just how little bit of physical fitness helps everything emotionally, socially, spiritually, you know, family. It's everything. It's mind, body, and spirit benefits from it. And then, like you said, everyone around you, because now you can bring your best self and say yes to those things.
Yep.
I think the reason why it gets missed is because they're not aware of why they're doing it anymore. I think a lot of the time, especially when people go into new levels, they forget the reason why they started it in the first place. So whenever the stakes get higher, they start thinking about like what they see. You know, like let's say we go into a gym. There's a lot of things that you see typically in gyms, and sometimes it could be self-sabotaging. It's like, oh, this person looks like this way, even though you had a goal in mind. Now you see somebody that has your dream body that you want to have, you accidentally forget why you're there in the first place. And then that's when the mental stuff can really affect you, because like, yeah, you were originally there for mental things, but then when you go, you forget the reason in the beginning, and then you create a new mental issue because of whatever the scenario is and however the gym is. But that's what I was thinking about. It's just like the reason why, and that's a lot of work that I actually do with my clients. It's like they come to me and they just ask me how to get back to the spunk, you know, the clarity that they had in the beginning. And sometimes I just ask them a simple question, like, why did they start in the first place? And then another question is, who is, you know, whoever that person's name is, who is blank? And sometimes when I ask that question, they're like, I don't know who I am. Like, let me figure that out. And then I take them through like a mind map thing and discover who they are as a brother, a sister, a family member to this, like a sister-in-law, brother-in-law, whatever the case may be. And it kind of reconnects them to their original like roots and be like, this is why I was doing this. Because the journey's long. We forget why we start, but that's sometimes we have to like re-guide ourselves into that same direction.
Yeah, it's I love that point. I was talking to my old football coach, Bill Jump, the other day, and I was reminding him of all the times that he was very impactful to my life, and he probably didn't even realize it in the moment, but he was a very caring individual and service oriented selfless individual that made it about the team and not him. And he just served. And when you were working your ass off, he would say, man, I'm proud of you. And he'd fist bump you like a dad would. And he, I, I love reflecting back on my childhood and then 20s and 30s and all the impactful people in my life that, at the right time told you that, man, I appreciate you, or I like having you on the team, or amazing job. Or your dad, just all the stuff where people served you in a really meaningful way. And so what that does for me now is I try to be, we teach the pause button, develop a pause button. So before you walk into any situation, it's like, how can I serve the situation? Not how that situation, John F. Kennedy, not how the situation can serve me, but how I can serve that situation. And we can remind ourselves when we go in, there's going to be somebody that needs to be served. So like you're trying to, like, you've got maniacal focus, Sarah, on like, what is there something I could do or say that'll make it click for that person? And they're excited to buy in, and they know that I've got their back, and I support them through thick and thin. And it's not going to be a perfect journey, but I'm here with you. I got you. And that's what we do as coaches. And that's why and I know you guys will agree with me. It doesn't matter if you don't have a single certification. Believe that you are a coach, and every now and then put the coaching hat on. And and if you don't have the certifications, that just means you got to keep it at elementary level. But telling somebody how proud you are of them, or how I love how you serve the situation today. I love having you on this team. That's elementary level stuff, but let me tell you, it's actually PhD level stuff, because you are taking the time to make that person feel special and wanted, and you never, ever know. It's going to go, it may sound a little extreme, but you never know when you may be saving somebody's life. When you just allow yourself to, give this person 30 seconds, or give this, and sometimes it's more than that, but give this person the time that they need. If you sense for 1 second that they need something, if they need to be served, then you serve. So serve the room. If it's an individual, or if it's 10 people, or if it's 1,000 people, serve, serve. Just be selfless versus selfish. And I loved you sharing that story, because it got me to thinking about how we serve people as coaches. And we all are coaches in some form or fashion.
100% on that. And I love how you talked about just empathy, because within my education that I did have, I would say, yeah, you can talk the talk and walk the walk, but if you don't have 95% empathy, clients aren't going to stay with you. And half of the reason why people come to you, they probably know what they need to work on and what they need to do, but they just need to be heard. And half of the time when they tell whoever, it's always advice. I know better. You don't know it. I know it. And it accidentally comes off like they're a know-it-all, and they should be able to solve that person's problem. And that's not why that person came to you in the first place. They just wanted to let you know what was going on. If you just hear them and be there for them, say nothing, that is going to do 10 times more than the person that gave that advice. And that's why things like this can be so challenging, because we've gone through it, and we want to let people know, hey, this happened to me. I know this works. And we get excited over that, but that's not what that person needs. So I like how you brought that about serving, knowing that somebody might need just some extra attention, and empathy is really everything.
Yeah, I can teach somebody how to do a perfect squat all day long, but that's, and we learn things like that from certifications and education and whatnot, and how to program and whatnot. But that's 10% of it. 90% of it is, I got to plug in real quick. 90% of it is, what did I do or say that has that person really, really excited to stay engaged with the fitness journey, or with the mental health improvement journey, or whatever the journey is. It's like a math professor that's teaching math, but is really smart and makes you get up in front of the class and present the problem on the board. I'm actually teaching you how to be a good communicator. And oh, by the way, we're learning math. It's like those are the type of people that I remember as teachers that served me very well because they were forcing me to get outside my comfort zone. And so yeah, I was on a podcast earlier today about resilience, and the question was, Yancy, what could you? We had a great back and forth in this. What would you say to somebody that wants to be more resilient? And it hit me. It's like, just start saying yes to things. Start putting yourself out there. That's what I have to be resilient almost every day, but it's just because I'm involved in a lot of stuff and it's challenging, and you start to get addicted to that, and you look forward to getting out of bed because I have things to do, and that could be a 7-year-old or a 17-year-old and everybody in between. There's always things to do. It's to put ourselves out there, and we are going to become more resilient, or stay resilient and not lose it if we put ourselves out there. So sometimes maybe too good at it, but I'm really, really good at saying yes to things and challenge myself. And sometimes it gets myself a little overwhelmed. But got a phenomenal team. I was laughing with Robin the other day. I was like, thank you I tell her every day, thank you for keeping me in check. She's our director of marketing. Like, thank you for telling me no sometimes, and just you reminding me of this or that when I'm going 90 miles an hour and I need to cam it back a little bit. So
Put you on a leash.
yeah, she's like my work wife. Just has me on a leash.
Yeah. With the resilience piece, we also say that with confidence. If you like, people think it's supposed to be a feeling that you randomly are going to get at one point in time, and it all comes with trying. And then once you fail, you try again, and being okay with that. So resilience and confidence, I like how you explained it, saying yes to things. When you're scared, say yes, as long as it's not going to harm you at the end of the day. I think that's a great way to look at things, because feelings don't just randomly come to you. You have to build that feeling within trying.
Yeah, a lot of people think, oh, they're fearless. Look at them go. Look, they have no limitations, and the reality is like, no, they could be scared to death, but they're doing it in spite of that fear. That's what builds that resilience. That's what you were probably being taught, by your mom, Yancy, when you were young, and that's something when what we try as parents, right, to instill in our kids. It's like, no, this is a safe place to fail. So go do make some mistakes. You're in a safe space, but that's where you're going to learn and grow, and you're going to build that resilience. It's okay to fall down sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, here's how you pick yourself back up. And yeah, I'm right there to kind of to give you a helping hand if you need it. Now that resilience, it's we're passing the torch on to our kids, and or if you don't have kids, then the people around you that you're impacting and the clients that you're impacting.
Oh, yeah, I'm an 80s kid. There was probably about a 7-year period where 365 days of the year I was bleeding, in pain,
Yeah.
something.
My
That whole,
father
hey,
was a
it's
nurse
10 o'clock. It's
anesthetist.
10 o'clock. Where are your kids?
Yeah, yeah,
Time to go find your kids and get them inside. That was that's how it was in the 80s and
yeah,
growing up in small town America.
yeah. My father was a nurse as well, and yeah, whenever we came home with like sports injuries, or I skateboarded too, so like I'd have like road rash and stuff, or I'd jam my finger in basketball, and sure enough, he'd be like, what'd you do now?
Yeah, always something. Good stuff.
I know I wasn't born in the 80s, but I was still out in the neighborhoods doing hood rat stuff. You never know what I was doing out there. I know whenever I first moved in my neighborhood, I didn't want a house, like, because my development was being made at the time, and there was a couple houses being made, and I'm over there like just not wanting them, so I'm stealing the nails that they left, and hopefully they won't need these boards. And that's
I
the kind
love
of
it.
hood rat stuff that I did. Don't tell the police now. Like, I've gotten away with it.
I haven't heard hood rat in a while. I love that. And we try to act like we're special as growing up in the 80s, but it's still relatively close. Our kids these days just spend a little more time on the damn device than we did, but they're just as freaking awesome, and they're doing just as much crazy fun stuff. And it's
Well,
important.
that's actually a good question to ask because of how you grew up. I guess, how do you present yourself to your kids, and how do you help them solve problems?
We, man, we're failing forward, but we've got two amazing kiddos. We have a senior in high school. She actually had cap and gown pictures today, and we have an eighth grader in middle school, and we challenge them. They they do a lot of stuff. They're involved in sports. They're very socially active, and they're just, I think my wife and I try to create. We do dinners together. We pray together. Um, and we do a lot of laughing, and I mean, we fight and bicker just like any other family, but I think it's about as healthy as it could possibly be. I pinch the life out of every second we get. I saw my daughter's graduation cap and gown picture today. Which school just freaking started? Why are you sending this to me? It's stressful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was like I was like I welled up. I was in tears. And it goes by so fast. And I think my wife and I do a really, really good job, not perfect, but a good job at maximizing opportunities. We we're not made of money, but we go on fun little basic vacations. We just immerse ourselves in each day, even if it's something simple. And try to do every I think both of us were blessed with amazing parents, both my wife and I. And our parents would tell us, go be better than we were. And that's what we want to do. And we would want our kids to try to be better than we were. We're trying to serve the next in line. And we're definitely trying to build kiddos that are great. Like, you need to be a good asset to your country, to your cul-de-sac. First, I'm sorry, your house, your community, your state, your country, and your planet. You need to be a great asset. What are you doing? That there nobody owes you anything, and you don't go out. You serve. You serve first, and don't expect a damn thing in return. It just took me a while to get all fired up, but this is the foundation is built on that. Like, you go be the person that's serving, and you don't expect anything in return. But what happens is that naturally you do start getting things in return, because that's the type of person that you are. And honestly, it's a statistics game. I'd love to be able to snap our fingers and say we had, 51% or more trying to raise their kiddos the same way. But that's just very important to us, because that's how my wife and I were raised. Is, you better get out there, and you better serve people. So that's what we're trying. That's two kiddos. That's how we're trying to raise our kiddos. Imperfectly failing forward, and sometimes crashing into the wall and falling on our ass on the other side. Yeah.
I hear that.
Yeah, I don't have any kiddos, so it's always like inspiring to see how other people like utilize what they've learned and kind of like help, guide. So that's why generally my question was like that, because clearly you learned a lot back in the day. So it's just like, okay, how are they dealing with situations? Like, yeah, we need them to kind of deal them on their own, and they have to crash and burn, but you're always there by their side. Like, kind of like what we talked about, that empathy piece is huge. And as long as they keep doing their thing and you're just there for them, like, that's all, at least from outside looking in, with not being a parent, because I only have a dog. Like, he tells me needs and stuff, but it's a lot different than, of course, having kids.
I took a piece of bubble gum. There was this place that we would go to get auto parts, and Dad was working on the car, and Mom and I went into town to get something. And there was like I remember it like it was yesterday. There's a tray of like the double bubble.
Mhm.
And we get in the car, and I'm chewing this piece of bubble gum, and my mom was like, we're like 7 miles away from this place. She's like, where did you get that bubble gum? And I was like, I knew. I said, I got it from the, by the cash register. Hauling ass back there. You get your ass in there, and you apologize, and you go pay for that gum. Well, come to find out, but I love Mom for this. It was actually like a tray where you could take a piece, but the fact that she knew damn good and well that I didn't ask. So even if it was for free, you still should freaking ask. It's just, and I love that was my upbringing. We drove our ass back into town, and I had to apologize, And I took like a quarter in there or something. And he's like, it's actually free. And of course, in the moment, I was probably like, this is ridiculous. I can't believe this. I'm like a 7th grader. I can't believe this. This is so traumatizing. But
It's a core
I tell
memory.
my mom every time I say, thank you so freaking much, for that, because it was that's so powerful. And it takes a lot, man. My wife and I find ourselves in situations sometimes and we're like, man, this is maybe the hardest work we've ever done. And you find yourself like throwing your own life upside down for a little bit to make a point that you need your kids to have those moments. Like, remember back, when mom or dad said this is the right thing to do, and they stuck to their guns and made us do it. So yeah, and really, I was just crazy blessed. I mean, not everybody has. I have so many opportunities to coach and serve young people, middle school and high school especially, and I never ever ever get like, so how some people get really fired up about if some young person's just being a pisshead. And like, what a freaking piece of work. What a loser. What it's like, no, you don't know. You don't know. Like, and I'm like, I was lucky. I'm able to coach you, and I've got myself into a coach role because of my childhood and this and that. It just kept growing. But there's some people where it's like, this person is somewhat of a hot mess because of with the situation they're in. And how can you serve them for the next 12 hours to maybe give them some nuggets to look back on for the rest of their life versus like try to just, I ain't got time for this person, so that's like when you good coaches of sport teams and good frontline management, will take time before you just throw somebody under the bus. Like, I'm done with you. It's like there's some great stories out there from, it could take weeks, months, maybe a year, but in special cases when you can hang on and just keep working, and you may change a life there by it's not for everybody. Coaching, serving, being a teacher, there's certain careers that's the ultimate service industry, and it's not going to be for everybody. And it's like, I'm decent at that. There's a lot of things I couldn't do. I'd be a hot mess, but I'm decent at just trying to love and serve on people. And because like I said, you could save or change a life. But by seeing that situation is there. So I love working with coaches that I worked with tons of football coaches, and um, get to serve the football team here in Cedar Park for the last 17 years. And nothing, in many cases, those coaches would tell you that I've, after the kid graduates, it's like the coach became my dad. He was basically not by blood, but that was my dad. And I became a better person because I was on a team that was led by an imperfect person that knew the sport or the craft better than me. And I wrote it out and stayed with it. And I'm a better person for it. I'm going to be a better father, better community leader, a better employee or employer. Because I always tell kids, the greatest internship on planet Earth to a young man or woman is being just playing team sports. Because like I said, you're being, I think it's non-debatable. A large percentage of kids make it through sports, childhood and they are in youth, and they don't ever play sports. But I think you have a massive advantage when you do, because you are being led by imperfect people that know the craft better than you. And sometimes they got to jump on your shit on the spot. They don't have time to go have a 15-minute talk. Sometimes it's like 10 seconds. And then they give you a hug after. It's like, dude, sorry I jumped on your shit, but we had to get this shit right now. And it was important. And then you go on, and I think you're always going to be the statistics, I think, are going to show that you're going to be a better person in general. So I always encourage it. It doesn't have to be an actual contact sport or something, but just be on a team where when you're young, it could be the freaking chess club and you're learning chess. I don't know, or then band. So it doesn't have to be like play a sport, but be on a team where you have a leader and you're being directed. And then you're a really good follower, and you may get put in charge of something and be a good leader, and imperfectly, of course, but that stuff is so important.
One of the exercises at some of the military schools I'd been to, it was always interesting to watch how they would, rotate you into leadership positions, and how powerful that rotation and getting that different perspective, it it grows you as a leader. It develops you as a better follower, which then ultimately will make you a better leader. And it's just those little nuggets from the military that you don't realize in the moment. You're like, wait, this applies to way more than just here, just service, because it can be a service towards other people, towards civilians, towards
man,
as a coach.
you're so accurate. And in the event space, when you put on large events, it's why we have so much massive respect that people give us constructive criticism and they're comfortable with it, but they do it behind the scenes. They they're like, post event, they're like, there's so many people in my life like this, athletes, coaches, gym owners, just people that are supporting us with DEKA, for example, like, and it's always the most beautiful people that do it are like, they'll tell you 2 or 3 things that were amazing. And it's like, oh, by the way, I really think you guys need to look at doing this or that. And I'm like, oh my God, why didn't we ever think of that? Or why don't we do this or that? Thank you so freaking much. I have so much respect for those people that they're not going to just like pacify the situation. They're going to call your ass out on it, but they're going to do it in this constructive way that's so healthy. And some people, and it's okay, everybody has the right, but some people will just try to burn you down on social media.
Right.
And that's just the way it is these days. And I don't even try to fight it. It's just the way it is. But you have a person that saw exactly what they saw on the same day where you guys were screwing something up, because we do we're always screwing something up, just the way it is in the big event space. And they come back around, and you know what? I shot a video yesterday, and one of those people, one of my favorite people that falls in that category, he's now on our team. He is now a member of DEKA as of yesterday, and we're going to kind of put him in a head referee role on site, because we're going so crazy 90 miles an hour. And the light bulb moment, we've been talking about it for a while, and it's like, because there was this individual that just kept serving us behind the scenes, and there's so many of them that are on our team in some form or fashion. Or a lot of them are like an DEKA affiliate owner that's now doing road shows for us while also managing their gym. So they're generating more money, but they're spreading DEKA. You don't trust everybody to do that. But when you've got a gym that's like just been amazing, that doesn't mean that they're kissing your ass. They're just so positive with their constructive criticism, and they make you feel, they're kind of hammering you, but they make you feel good about it. And you want to,
it's
like, man,
not
I
coming
need you
from
on my team.
Yeah, it's not coming from
know what I
a
mean?
malicious place. It's constructive. It's meant to build
they
up.
support the brand while they're also trying to make you better. It's so beautiful.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
That feedback piece too, like you said, when it comes to team sports, because you do a little good, but you're learning, so you're going to do a lot of bad too. And that like coachable moment of being able to like hear what you did incorrect and be able to fix that, that's a skill that I don't think many people have nowadays. And like you said, with this whole social media thing, like people just see, we all know it's fake, but then we still look at the pictures and the videos, and for some reason we still think they're real. And like when it comes to that, if I didn't have a cell phone till I think I was in high school, so like I don't think I was like in the mix like these kids are nowadays. But like I was able to take criticism a little bit better because I was on team sports. But I can tell with social media starting to make a huge presence, you do start to like accidentally down yourself just because you see something, and it's just like, what the heck? Like I used to not be like this. Why am I starting to think like that? And it's because our brains are accidentally being altered from the fakeness. Like I don't know how else to call it. But like with the team sports, like people always get curious like what kind of athletics I do. And I played basketball in college, but nowadays I do almost anything under the sun. And I tried golf recently because if you saw my whole RV journey getting out west, I got stuck in Iowa, and I ended up going golfing because why not? Like I have nothing else to do. I'm at a golf course, and I'm over here like just trying to learn a couple things. And one of the guys was teaching me how to like chip the ball. And I was like, oh, sorry about that. He goes, oh, no, like you're really coachable. And I just like looked at him like, oh, I thought I was doing everything incorrect. But just because I was listening to him enough, he was able to give me that. But I don't know. Once again, I go on rampages too. Something about being coachable from team sports. Like I haven't played a team sport since I graduated college. That was almost 10 years ago. Geez, almost 10 years ago. And
Don't get
it's
us
just
started, right?
Right, I know. The young go over here talking about how it's been 10 years. But yeah, it's just a quality that people don't realize. Like team sports and sports in general are just amazing for your like understanding and being able to conquer things. And then you can relay it in other parts of your life because I mean, RVing, it's people think it's like vacation. Oh my goodness gracious, it's not at all. Like we're always dealing with like flat tires or roof falling off, a squirrel came in. I think we have a mouse right now. Like there's so many dumpster fires that happen all the time. But the fact that I'm adaptable, I'm over here like, you know what? Like I am by the mountains. Like that's where I wanted to be. So even though my house is kind of like a dumpster fire, I'm having a good time. But that adaptability would have not come to me if I stayed in my nice, you know, cul-de-sac house in my nice, comfortable home. That would have never happened if I didn't go on to this journey.
Yeah, I love that. I that is like I said, when I was a little jealous. My wife and I, we have this thing where she knows that I would be like this if you took my family, if somehow there was Yancy ended up without a family, because I love how we're so grounded here in our little Pleasantville, Cedar Park. I would be this guy that was just stuck on the side of a mountain somewhere, just like watching the butterflies and just I would want my people around me, but I just I love simplicity. Oh my gosh, I love simplicity. Like I want to live in a my wife talks about the ledge. If it was up to me, we would live in a little tiny home. We'd have a little tiny home because I love like little tiny spaces. I got this weird brain. You know, I could have $50 million in the bank. I was like, let's go get a really cool, like a just really cool tiny home, an expensive little tiny home.
God, it's almost like you heard a conversation with me and my wife. It's been a number of years, but when they got really popular, I was doing the same thing. She's like, have you looked around? 90% of this is your crap.
It's so true. Oh my gosh. I would be the first one that would need to clean shit up.
Right.
Oh man, good stuff.
Well,
yeah.
so we always, well, I don't want to say always. We started something that that Mark actually introduced, right? And made the recommendation. And that's obviously how you made it on this post, and also, you know, being kind enough to say yes, but it was, who would you love to see on the next podcast? And if you're able to, you know, if we're able to get them on the next podcast, what if you could ask them anything, like what would it be?
Oh, well, the most hmm. I hadn't thought about. I forgot that was how I got on. That's so cool. So Mark wanted me to be on. I
Yeah,
I would say I think you need
he
to have
set
Joe
you
on.
up.
Joe is the most, my gosh, resilient, unbreakable person. He literally lived his own death race. Um, Joe's who we should try to have on the show,
Yeah.
100%. I'll try to
Okay.
make that happen for you guys, or I can come up with somebody else too. But um, and I think because Joe is to a fault, and I love this because I try to be the same. He's really good at it. He's so freaking transparent. You know, he's probably drives some of the sea levels crazy sometimes. But he's just going to tell you. You know, if you ask him like, give us a day in the life of 2020, 2021, when
Oof.
you're just getting your ass
Handed
handed
to
to
you.
you.
I can't even imagine.
And like let him share, because I always my level of respect always goes up when because I've been able to hear the story many times, and on long drives or just meetings, and we were on every freaking day for a while. He would have these 5 a.m. calls, and we would have guys. He was so he created the death race because he knows how to live it. We're knee deep in COVID. We're talking like let's just say August, September 2020 when the shit was hitting the fan.
Right.
And in some places you couldn't even go out freaking side barely. We would get on this call Everybody was on the Google Hangout, and we would have people, I'm not exaggerating, from 35, 40 countries.
Wow.
Awesome, amazing people, leaders from these countries, and everybody would have their chance to share what's going on in their country. And it was so uplifting. And then we would, the call would be over, and it's like, okay, Yancy, take me through a workout. And it's like, now it's like 5:35 in the morning, and I'm taking him through a workout. It's like, okay, let's go. And it was so, like, you could not let yourself get down or get negative or want to like give up or give in. And then you would just attack the day. Whatever you were able to do, you would attack it. And
Yeah, when
I
you start
shot
like that, geez.
I just shot insane. I shot so much video in my backyard and was trying to reach people because, and Joe provided a lot of that inspiration. He's so and I know people people flamethrow Spartan every day. And we bring some of that stuff on us. We deserve some of it, but sometimes you don't. Joe, number one, Joe would be a good person to come on. Getting back to your question, and I think I can make that happen. But it's amazing how people will put the flamethrower down when you get behind the scenes, and you grind behind the scenes, and you really see everything, and you see how much effort is going into, like in these cases. But when I talk about 20 and 21, just like maniacal focus about not declaring chapter 11. And then when people were actually telling you that you should, to say, no, I know we owe $75 million. We lost all this money. We're going to pay everybody off. We're going to pay off all the vendors. We're not going to declare chapter 11. We're going to take this honorable route. And there's nobody that's more imperfect failing forward than Joe. But when you see behind the scenes of what that mind of his was able to create, I mean, there's no business harder. Let's be honest. There is not a harder business on planet Earth to create and make viable than we're going to build obstacles all over the side of a ski resort out of 6 trailers, and we're gonna have people there for a week, and it's gonna be freezing cold and rain and snow and ice and tornadoes and that all this stuff, and we're gonna stay positive. We're gonna do it. It's like, if you're presenting that at your college as your college thesis, they're gonna be like, "You're fucking
You're out of your
crazy,
mind.
dude.
Yeah,
You lost your mind."
Oh, and you're going to
But he's
pay
like,
for that?
Right. That
but
too.
I'm telling you, back in 2019, before COVID, we were kicking ass and taking names. For a couple years,
Yes.
we were kicking ass and taking names.
100%.
And it was, we'll get back there. We will get back there because it's just Joe's Joe, and there'll never be another one like him. So love him or hate him, I love that I've had the opportunity to work with him behind the scenes and really get to know him very well, and
Well, then that
just
makes the
be
question
around his
really hard.
family and all the stuff. He's a good dude. He's a good dude. At the end of the day, he's welcome at my fire anytime. So
I think, I think I can safely speak for both Sarah and I that we would be ecstatic if that was something that could be made happen. But I can't let you off the hook. I can't let you off the hook. Now, the question is, you might, what would you ask him, since you do know him very well?
Yeah, going back to what I said, I would say, Joe, would you be willing to put us in smack dab in the middle, day in the life? Let's go somewhere between July 2020
got it.
December 2020, when it was hitting the fan.
What was the?
Do you mind give us a day in the life? That would be a great question, because it's like we were living it, and it's I remember even during those times, it was like nobody, even then, people weren't putting down the fire extinguisher. But just give Joe a chance, and he's never gonna be the poor me guy. And nor would we want him to. It'd be fun to hear it straight out of his mouth.
Sorry, I know you did say that. I was just
no worries.
I got it. If I don't write stuff down, Sarah knows this with me by now, and everybody involved in Titan 6 Actual knows, like, Lou's going to ask us again because he probably forgot. Unless they saw me writing it in my phone or writing it down on paper, it's like, oh God, because you're always getting attacked with ideas, great ideas too, and it's just like, no, I got to write it down. I got to write it down, or it's gone like a fart in the wind.
And one more thing I'll say about Joe is, this just came into my head. when you really get to know Joe, there are people in life, you know, if you look at a Goggins type, they are flat out different. This is not a game. This is not some acting job that they're doing. They're 100% wired different. And there's a few, in a good way, there may be a few screws loose, but I think that's because I think it's actually opposite. I think it's like this, maybe to me, the way I've lived my life is maybe those screws aren't loose. That person's exactly who they're supposed to be. But you have to allow yourself to be immerse yourself into it long enough to like, okay, I get it. Versus just like on face value, sometimes you say, well, Goggins is crazy, or a Joe type is crazy, or that person's a loon. And actually, no, they're just different. And there is a level of, it may be a little unique to you, but there's a level of service there to the masses. So yeah, man, you guys would have fun with that interview.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that story for sure.
At least when it comes to David Goggins, when it comes to his screw loose, you know what I'm trying to say. I don't know what maybe it is that we should be ending right now. All I was gonna say from that is, from once again his childhood, there was a flip in the script that happened to him, and I got to listen to his audiobook, which that was cool because you got to hear it, the person reading the book, and then they pause, and then him and David Goggins had a small conversation about what was going on behind the scenes, which that was really cool. But yeah, that switch happened within his family dynamic. So when we talk about like, wow, you're crazy, it's just like, no, like you go through some stuff, you finally tired of it, you adapt to it, and now you finally took over your life. So I think that's awesome that, you know, if anybody calls you crazy, that's a compliment.
The greatest playgrounds for adults that we could ever imagine in our wildest dreams. Maybe the only person on planet Earth that could make it happen in an extravagant way made it happen. Mm-hmm. And he provided those to us. I was 40 years old when I did my first one, and I was on cloud freaking 9. It's like at what age do we stop splashing in the mud? Like there was one day in our life when we were splashing in the mud and couldn't wait to jump up and down. And then the next day we decided not to do it anymore. Wake up when you're 40, or some people 20, 30, 50, 70. They're like, and I got to do that again and play around. I got to be like the monkey man and carrying wild stuff and be deep in the woods. And yes, obstacles were built out in the middle of freaking nowhere. And you're like, how did you guys get all this shit out here? This had to take a day to build this one alone. And we got to play on it. And there was everywhere. They're all over. And then it got bigger and bigger and better. That never happens with the normal people. Right. Normal people would not have done that.
No.
The bean counters would have talked them out of it in like 50 seconds. No, that's stupid. Yeah, it's like, and he's like, he got enough semi-crazy people to follow him until it was like, we woke up one day and it was there, and it's still there. And I love that there's a massive percentage of people doing Spartan now that were like, you know, we served 15 million people, but 1/10 of 1% of the planet Earth did a Spartan race. There's a shit ton of people that had never done one and still never done one. And we're getting those people now. So some of the old schoolers like, I hate not Spartan, but we're basically back in 2010, in 2024. And we have all these new people that I was at a race. And I was like, I used to know, felt like I knew everybody there. Yeah. I don't even know the people. And that's so special. They are the next in line. Kids are doing it that weren't born in 2010.
Yeah.
So I love that just, and all the other brands that are continuing to keep it going. It's special. It's our adult playground in the wild.
It really is. That's a great analogy, but that's probably why I was drawn to it, because I'm just a big kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I appreciate you guys, man.
Yes, thank you, Yancy. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
Much love. I love doing this, man. I love shooting the breeze with people. Nothing fills my love tank, man. I was super excited about this when I saw it coming up. I couldn't wait for it to start.
Awesome, man. Well, like we said, thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you. At least I'll see you in Worlds. I'm sure Lou will see you earlier than that, but
yes, yeah, in a couple of weeks, and not even like a week and a half.
Not even.
yeah,
Not even. That's a 2-day. We got a 50.
Yeah.
We have 18 ultra tickets still left for sale.
Woo.
We decided to bolt
Be a
that
good
on last
time.
minute. And next year we're going to have 4 ultras regular season leading up to the World Cup, which will probably be right here in Austin. It might not be. Don't hold me to that, but we're going through the possible run of show. So
All right.
4 or 5
Sneak
leading up
peek.
to the World Cup, which will be here in Austin. So hopefully, so we'll
Good
see.
stuff.
Fun
Yeah.
schedule. All right, team.
All
Much
right.
love. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Joining us on this exhilarating journey through resilience, determination, and the pursuit of excellence. As we wrap up this episode of Breaking Barriers Beyond the Finish Line, remember that the finish line is really just the beginning. Keep pushing your limits, breaking down walls and reaching for the stars. So whether you're an athlete, an entrepreneur, or simply someone seeking inspiration, know that you have the power to go beyond what you thought was possible.
If you enjoyed today's episode, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more captivating stories, expert insights, and practical tips. And don't forget to share this podcast with fellow dream chasers and barrier breakers. Until next time, this is Grip and Lou signing off, keeping breaking barriers, my friends. Remember, it is not about the finish line. It's about what lies beyond it, and it starts with you.